Well, thank you all for coming again. So tonight we're looking at, does anybody know what renunciation means? No.
It's a long word.
Neither did I. Google it. I have actually, you can Google it if you want.
To renounce something, isn't it?
It's what?
Renounce something,
yeah,
give something
it is.
up.
Give something up, right, so.
It is, give something up, exactly. Yeah. So tonight we're going to be looking at austerity, we're going to be looking at materialism and wealth and all that. But what I wanted to ask you are you okay with recording what we say? Because obviously it can be a sensitive subject. Stewie, I don't know if you've listened to to last week's the sound. It came. I know Pam has. It sounded really well.
It was really good, yeah.
And we had 12 views on the first one, and how many did we have? 18 on the first one, and 12 on the last. But it's all church, all people from church that can't get here for one reason or another. Some people are ill. Some people are busy. So it's giving it to a wider audience. So if you're all comfortable. What I don't want it to do is hinder us in exploring it. But equally, like I said last week, there's absolutely no pressure. I got as much out of reflecting on the questions and that obviously I wasn't going to talk to myself, but I looked at it from a different point of view if I was just reflecting on that, and we used silence and that last week. And that's just as powerful, to be honest. So the only thing is, if we don't speak, it's going to be a very quiet. But seriously,
if you want to speak and you don't want it recorded, just let me know.
Well, yes, I just thought I'd say that. So our first night was about passion for Jesus and having that passion ignited. And obviously last week we looked at the benefit of silence. I just wondered, did anybody have any feedback from last week's session?
We all know how to be silent.
You just did. That was last week's though.
No, I took it on board a bit because when I'm listening to my Bible in the mornings, quite often there's busyness going on around me, if you know what I mean. There's people like in the kitchen, because I'm sat in the conservatory, the kitchen's opposite. There's people coming in and out. So I've got up 20 minutes earlier, so I'm there by myself. And it's lovely, the fact that there's no distractions when I'm listening. I can really take it in, and it does make a difference. Just being no distractions, being quiet. And then once I've finished, once I'm finished with the Bible, listening to it, I'll just sit there and reflect quietly with no distractions, apart from the cats, that is.
Just creating that space.
Yeah. But yes, yeah. So it did. It's kind of pointed me in a different direction, or a better direction, should I say? Yeah.
Oh, good. Right. Well, I'm going to open us up in prayer, if that's okay. O Lord, who has mercy upon everyone, take away from us our sins and mercifully kindle us with the fire of your Holy Spirit. Take away from us our hearts of stone and give us hearts of flesh, hearts of love, and adore you hearts that delight in you, to follow and enjoy you. For Jesus' sake. Amen.
Amen.
So, that is the ancient art of renunciation. Setting aside a lesser time, a lesser love for a time to awaken a deeper desire for the eternal love of God. And we're going to watch the video quite early tonight, just to give us a flavour of what Pete Greig is talking about, and also how it relates to the desert mothers and fathers. But I just thought, to start us off, what is the best gift you've ever received? And why did it mean so much to you?
Oh, that's an easy one.
Go on.
Our daughter.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
And why does it mean so much to you? I mean, she's the world. You know, yeah, she's 24 now, but she's still our little girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. So that is definitely the best gift.
That you have
any shadow of a doubt.
I think mine is knowing that Paul did love me when he came and we did my garden, which was really getting on top of me, that it was unexpected and meant a lot.
Yeah. So the gift of doing the garden. Yeah. Yeah.
Meant more than, physical presence.
Yeah.
I agree with my daughter was the best gift I've ever received. And it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving as well.
Yeah.
There's just,
I'm taking.
yeah. Well, yeah. Well, she's 40 now. And
Oh
we've
wow. Okay.
We've got 3 grandchildren, so and they are
Yeah.
wonderful gifts as well. Yeah.
You don't look old enough to have a 40-year-old daughter.
Thank you.
Definitely not.
That
Must have been very young.
That was the right one.
Goodness, you must have been very young.
You see, I must be more shallow than you guys, because I was thinking the best gift that I ever got that I could was when I was probably about 10 or 11, and I'll never forget it. I went, but there is a little bit of sentiment involved. I went to Preston with my mum, and it was Preston Guild, so that tells you how long it was. It was a long time ago. And she bought me a Bush Kestrel radio, and it would be long wave then. I don't think there'd be any FM then. It was, but it had its own aerial, and it's made up of it. I love music, and I think it was as much about the time that I spent with my mum and and I mean it's so special that I can still remember the name of the radio.
I was going to sound a bit naff, but as soon as I saw that, I just thought of my mum, who gave me and my sister the gift of empathy. Really, I think I'm so grateful I've got that. I read recently somewhere some American politician who will be unnamed, that he despises people who have empathy because it's a weakness, but I think it's just such an amazing all-rounder. Empathy is my favourite virtue, I think.
It's one of the things we get from suffering. If you
Yeah,
suffer,
but also I suppose from my point of view, from making you so grateful for what you've got, because there's so many worse places and so many worse situations you could be in, and that sort of really keeps me grounded.
I remember having a spirograph when I was 11. I longed for the spirograph.
Yeah.
I got one of them. So it wasn't the best gift, but it was up there with
Yeah.
a couple of years ago I got back in touch with a girl I worked with when I was 18, and she came to meet me in Liverpool, and it was coming up to Christmas, and she'd messaged me and asked me what sort of earrings would I like, and I was like, don't get me earrings, I'm allergic to nickel, I can only wear like really expensive gold, so don't be silly, just don't. Anyway, she was silly. She didn't get me earrings, but she got me the most beautiful cross. And I burst into tears when I saw this gorgeous gold cross, and it's just, I just couldn't believe that she'd actually got me this such a beautiful thing.
Well, thanks for that. I'll play our video now, I think.
The father of desert monasticism was Anthony the Great, but its mother was a woman called Syncletica of Alexandria. She was born to a noble family in the city of Alexandria, just about 90 miles away from where I'm standing now, in 380 AD. Syncletica had everything going for her. She was wealthy, educated, and beautiful, and yet, from a young age, her one desire really was just to live for Jesus. Following the tragic death of her parents, Syncletica cut her hair very short, gave all the money that she had just inherited away to the poor, and moved into a crypt on the edge of the city in order to pursue there the life that she had really always wanted, which was totally devoted to ceaseless prayer. "My beloved's is mine and I am his," she would often say, quoting Song of Songs 2:16. Syncletica was passionate, for sure, and yet she was not naive about the sheer effort and habit stacking involved in developing this divine romance. "It's like those who wish to light a fire," she said on one occasion. "At first, they are choked by the smoke and they cry, but it's by this means that they obtain what they seek. So we also must kindle the divine fire in ourselves through tears and hard work." One of the things I think I find refreshing about Syncletica's wisdom is the way she consistently uses very familiar, homely metaphors, like the one about laying a fire, to teach important spiritual truths. Unlike her male counterparts, she links spirituality to the simple domesticity of ordinary tasks, such as doing the laundry or cleaning the house, maintaining personal hygiene. In fact, one of her biographers says of Syncletica that she views prayer as a dynamic, embodied reality in a way that unusually appropriates women's bodies and women's work as useful means by which one might think about and speak of spiritual life. No wonder so many women were drawn to Syncletica's side, persuading her eventually, and actually quite reluctantly, to be the leader of their fledgling community. Reading the Desert Fathers and Mothers is often actually quite an unsettling experience, because for every pithy quote that just chimes really pleasantly with my own 21st century sensibilities, there are honestly quite a few others that seem disturbing or confusing or downright weird. Exhortations, for example, to extreme asceticism, which is self-denial. Stories about casual conversations with demons. And then there's always the one about the monk who threw himself into a thorn bush to overcome his lust. And yet in other ways, it's actually the very strangeness of these teachings that I think I most appreciate. In a culture of self-actualization, positive affirmation, I just feel like there's something refreshing about Syncletica saying starkly, for example, that she says the soul is destroyed by praise, and that it is impossible to be surrounded by worldly honor and yet at the same time to bear heavenly fruit. Just as wax melts when it's near fire, she says on one occasion, so the soul is destroyed by praise and loses all the results of its labor. I find this challenging. I mean, how good am I at hiding my holiness from others? And in a world, frankly, obsessed with outward appearance, in which the global beauty industry alone is worth $600 billion a year, I'm struck by Syncletica's single-minded pursuit of inward and eternal beauty instead of the kind that just comes and goes. How often do I spend longer showering, dressing, and sorting out my appearance in the morning than I do preparing my heart for the coming day in prayer? At the end of her life, Syncletica suffered terribly for 3 years with mouth cancer, which eventually took her voice and then her life, aged 80. Her words weren't cheap, therefore, when she said to her disciples in these final years, "Even if you are so ill that you cannot stand to pray or use your voice to say the Psalms, even if your whole body is afflicted by disease, your spiritual health is still increasing." What an assurance. And what a truly beautiful life Syncletica of Alexandria lived.
Any thoughts about that video? Anything spring to mind?
It's like that. Your body is just a coat, isn't it? That you just
Yeah.
take off and you're free.
Yeah, they were talking about outward beauty there, showering and getting ready for the day, and the makeup, putting makeup. I don't put makeup on, but makeup, for you ladies. But it's inside. It's not your outward beauty. It's your inner beauty that I think that is pointing to.
Yeah, your soul.
Yeah.
The real
Yeah,
you.
sort of like inside you should be beautiful, not outside of you, I think. I don't know. Yeah.
I think inside all of us is beautiful, it's just recognising it inside yourself.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that the time is spent on preparation for the day physically, and you have very little time for that mental spirituality. That's echoed with me.
It's true, isn't it? You're so busy going through your routine of I've got my packed lunch and what I'm wearing, will the car start, what's the time, get to work, you're not thinking. So it's quite often that halfway to work before I start thinking, right. Yeah.
Bit about doing things for praise. I always think like, well, if you're doing something good for somebody and you're doing it for praise, then you're not doing something good.
No, absolutely, it's not
You're doing it for a reward.
Yeah. There was a bit of a resonance for me with the first, I think it was the first session with Anthony, was that right? Where, he was accused of abusing the girl, but he didn't defend himself. And to me, there was a bit of a resonance in that it doesn't matter what other people think about you, it's about your relationship with God. I thought that came across somehow in what was being said.
Do you think, probably a stupid question really, but do you think it was easier for her to do it in her circumstance than it is for us today?
I think it's easier for people who start off in life with lots to be able to walk away and give it up because they haven't experienced having nothing. When you've experienced having nothing, it can be quite difficult to just give it all up. But there was that Woolworth millionaire, wasn't there? She gave all their money away all them years ago, and stupidly, not to charities or anything, but some people just can't cope with having vast amounts.
Sorry.
No, I was just coming back to I've made a bit of a joke of it on the first one, that it's easier to do in the hot climate, but having been lucky enough to travel and seen shanty towns and real poverty, it is, you know, to not have the rain and to not be cold on top of that is definitely a bonus. I think it's, I'm not saying those people want to live
No,
there,
but
you know
there's
what I mean,
a-
but like, if you
as
chose
we
to do
walk-
that, I think it would be,
As we walk around and we see people on the streets, there's a fellow who's sitting outside
Yeah.
of Marks and Spencer's in Aldgate who's got
Yeah.
Parkinson's, and he sits there with his dog. And years ago there was a fellow who used to always sit in the corner, and it was snowing one day, and I happened to have a jumper and a coat in the car, and I gave it to him. And you think to yourself, you know, to be that cold,
yeah.
you can't warm
No,
up.
no. And I've thought, you know, why haven't I actually taken those people home and said, have a bath in my
Yeah.
bath and have a
The
hot
reason
meal?
for that is because they might rob you. And this is the issue. See,
Yeah.
the other thing is as well, I had a lad stop me the other day. I was going into the shop with with Stacey's John and the baby, and I didn't happen to have any money. And he told me the story about how his tent was leaking and how he'd not been able to sleep that night, and he wanted to have £30 so he could stay in a hostel.
Yeah.
And he couldn't go to this other hostel because people were falling out with all this. And he kept talking and talking and talking. And we were right near Aldgate Church. And they've got the food bank area there, and there's an area there where they help people and they advise you and all that. And I said, listen, just literally walk 20 yards up there, across the road, straight down there. They will help you. And he listened and he nodded. I said, just honestly, and he listened and he nodded. He said, no, I need money. I was like, yeah, but if you go there, they will help you. And then he walked the other way. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think,
I think, John, it's hard to put ourselves in our society now. You know, you've got to have an address to
Yeah.
exist within the society. So, you know, so in some ways, how can we put ourselves into a place where you can be part of a larger group, but someone's got to somehow look after that. You've got to have an address. I mean, I want to believe the reality of the problems that comes from not having an address. But I've seen it firsthand, and just and we suddenly had all these people living. Well, we were this address for them, so they could have. But that physical need of an address is something. You know, like people go out in the desert and the like, and you just one can't do that in this.
Well, it's a societal thing. Society should have a system set up in place, because there are people who are homeless because they don't want to live in a house. They don't want the bills. They don't want the stress. They don't want people knocking on the door. They don't want to do all the things that you have to do to live in a house.
To be honest, I think they're an incredible minority.
They are. There's something like 450 odd in the northwest, which is an incredible minority. Still 450 odd people that they can count
Yeah, that's true.
that don't have a home, and a lot of them are the young people. There's a lot of teenagers, they fall out with their parents, or they've been in foster care, and they've got nowhere.
If you want to, I have been on, used to go to the order of the Franciscans and been on retreats and things at a convent, and I mean that does still exist for people. If you're single, it's much more difficult if you have a family, but if you're single, that the way of monasticism still is there for people, and I think is fantastic, and I really enjoyed being amongst that community of women, and I loved the fact that they had brown habits, and they didn't wear makeup, and they didn't have to think about what they were wearing because they always wore the same thing. So that does exist for people, but really only for single people, really, not for somebody who has a family. But that must have been difficult then if people had family. Wouldn't have been any easier for them in those days.
Yes, it's one thing to take the decision for yourself, but to take it for your children. But I've always quite liked the idea of co-ops and, communities that work together to...
So I'll move on to our Bible reading, and it's from it's Sunday's reading actually, which is what we're kind of doing. We're going to read the Gospel on the Sunday, reflect on it, and then reflect on it again today. So it's from Matthew 6:19-24. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. And then the second reading is from Mark's Gospel, and it's the rich young man. I love the way Jesus, because obviously the rich young man has said, I keep all these commandments, and Jesus looked at him and loved him. I just love that. One thing you lack, he said, go sell everything you have and give it to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come and follow me. So, our first reflection tonight. In the video, Pete mentioned his wrestle with the desert fathers and mothers, and how sometimes they seem disturbing, confusing, or downright weird. Now that you've started studying their lives and teachings, how do you feel? Do they seem extreme and over the top? Or do you find their examples inspiring and convicting?
Inspiring.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. But I just know I couldn't. Well, at the moment, I can't imagine being that incredibly selfless. I don't know. It's,
But it's not. You're putting down a load of burdens and being with God, and God gives giving you something that material stuff can't compete with. So to them, they were able to see, letting go of all this and going with God. And that's the struggle, to be able to see that, what they saw.
Yeah.
That's that connection, isn't it?
It is. It's like, can you imagine not being warm enough?
But you wouldn't be cold because God would keep you warm.
And hungry, so glasses.
Do you need them?
Yeah.
These people connected with God to such a level
Yeah.
that they weren't cold, they weren't hungry, they weren't thirsty, they weren't tired, they weren't in pain. She had mouth cancer,
Yeah.
and she said no matter how bad you are in your body,
You keep your mind strong.
well, it's not your mind, it's your mind's part of your body. It's part of you. That's God, basically. It's that connection. God is in all of us.
I think it's very comforting to know that where we are, God has put us. He has put us here for a reason, and we just need to know and follow Him, follow the reason. So we are in this. All right, maybe we have wealth, but we can share it. You know, so we are here for a purpose. We're not called to be in a crypt in the middle of the desert. We're here because we're put here. And I find that really comforting.
Yeah.
I think it's inspiring because there's that reality of change. But look at Anthony, look at the lady this evening. It's they sort of changed from from their situation went into the desert and the like, and all the folk that have done that. But the fact is that they exercise change from their current their situation. They stepped outside their situation, and not saying that we're in that place of whether that we should all be going out and going into the desert or whatever, but whoever we are, and as we're part of the group here, and I'll speak to myself, I can step away, I can change, I can make, I can do something of whatever that step is. Some people are stepping into the desert. Rob was saying he stepped in getting up earlier and doing that, and that's all the step, isn't it? And we can all make some, and that's the inspiring thing is, yes, we've been given a very powerful picture of what people are doing, but we can all be part of that in some way.
See, I agree with Pam. None of us are destitute. We're not living in the desert. We haven't got anything at all. We haven't given everything up. But what we have got, how do we use it? Do we use it for the benefit of others? Which is the way I feel like you. I think I'm very blessed with what I have, but can I use that to help other people? And that's kind of the way I look at it. I don't want to give everything up. I feel like I'm more useful with something behind me and able to do things for others. That's kind of how I look at it. Rather than going out into the desert and just being yourself, do something for others with what you've got.
But isn't it amazing though, if you do that, you get so much back.
Absolutely.
So much back,
Yeah, absolutely.
You get so much more back.
But I think that's we might be getting ahead of ourselves, but John, in the Bible story about telling the young man to sell to give away his wealth, but that was because, in a sense, he had to. His focus was his wealth.
Right.
You're both sharing in a situation where actually, yes, there's resources, but it's not about I've got to live with it. It's about sharing those resources, and I think that's something. There's something in that piece of reading that we can explore more, which sort of resonates with that how you're speaking. That rather, you can read it in a very literal way, but I don't think that's always how we're supposed to read the scripture.
As to say, with a lot of the Bible readings, it's kind of understanding the real relevance. And I was thinking, maybe linked with what you were so open about on Sunday, how my younger self would have viewed these sessions. That I think maturity gives you an added insight.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I think what Andy said for me, it's like picking bits out of it. Obviously, you know, we're in the 21st century, and we kind of discussed last week, didn't we, how we're all kind of on that hamster wheel to a certain degree. But I think if you, and some of it does seem extreme, to be honest, when you think about it, you know, but when we were thinking about the solitude last week, that's really, that time of solitude was what prompted me to speak like I did on Sunday, because that passage just spoke to my, as you said, Rosie, to my younger self. That passage spoke into that, and probably I was more conscious of that challenge, you know, because of that time, of spending that time in solitude. So I think what you're saying, Andy, is you pick bits out that can help your spiritual life.
Yeah, I think, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So the young man had, as you were saying, his focus was more his wealth. He was not focused on God or Jesus or doing what he was really called to do. He was so worried about losing his wealth that it's the faith, he hadn't got the faith to sort of step out. It was far more important that he had money. It's sad, isn't it, really?
I think the Lord saw that, didn't he?
Yeah, oh yes.
Yeah.
And loved him anyway, which is, you know, which is...
And Eileen always says, well, we don't know whether he meant, you know, a young anything further down the line, because we weren't told.
It was pretty incredible that Jesus said to him, and he believed him, give away your wealth, and he did. This to an outsider was this man saying to another man, give all your money away. And he goes, okay. I mean, how much power was there in Jesus' words? How much?
Well, Jesus recognised the power of materialism and wealth, didn't he? He preached, he spoke about it a lot. If you think about the one that while I was being reflecting on this, the story that came to mind was the widow's mite.
Oh yes, yeah.
And she had nothing, and put the coin in.
Yeah.
And
a last coin, yeah.
So all her dependency was on God.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, and obviously, was it the Pharisee that was putting, or somebody with tax collector, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was putting, I don't know. So that's what came to mind for me.
Yeah.
John, just a story, a little story around this. Back in the 90s, or late 90s, we were given, the church I was a pastor at was in the middle of the community, and the community was given £900,000 to sort of, as part of regeneration money. And the church, you know, we were talking about it as a church, and I said I would go on the board, but nothing to do with, you know, the people in the church were thinking this is good for the church.
Yeah.
I said, but I'd go on the board, but it's not about us getting anything out of this. It's about serving the community with this regeneration money, and that's what we duly did. But then, I'm not saying the whole story, but it moved on. That all of a sudden, I was sat in a meeting, and the council lead stood up and said, "I have to apologise. We've got all this money, which I thought we could carry over, because this was in February, before end of year April." And he said, "We've got to spend this money in the next 6 weeks." I think I told you last year in some way, and and basically they were pleading for people to spend money. So I was able to put the hand up and say, well, we could spend it as a church. and they gave so we didn't go in for this regeneration money, but then 18 months later I got given £80,000 to spend in 6 weeks.
Wow.
Managed to spend 60,000, but it did. But that was just interesting. It's that story. It's about putting a focus on but actually there's resources we could use as a church, which we did use, and it made us do our ministry better. However, we didn't go in with that
Regeneration.
with that intention, but it's how it came out.
Thanks. So Jesus talks about how we cannot serve two masters, both money and wealth, mammon and God. What do you think he means by serving money or having it be a master over you?
Well, so you've got to look at today's average billionaire, really, haven't you? To see how disastrous and greedy people can become. I think the richer you are, the more you want. It sort of becomes an illness, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it becomes an obsession, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You've got to make money.
Yeah.
Okay, I made a bit. I want some more,
That's
more,
right.
and more, and
Well,
more,
there was
and more. and it just-
an
it just
article
goes
in The Guardian where there was a gathering of millionaires, and they did a survey, and literally every single one of them said that they wouldn't be happy until they become a billionaire. So,
It's just,
how can you imagine sort of like having sort of
yeah.
£80 million and not being happy? It's just.
You can never be happy.
Absolutely, you could never be happy, could you,
never
if
be
you
happy.
thought like that? You did.
There's
But
some,
to want to keep it,
Yeah.
like
Yes, yeah.
something I
Why?
can't remember what I heard it on, but it was somebody said to a rich man, something about how much money do you need, just a little bit more.
Mm.
And they
There's
all
that
said,
saying, isn't
Really
there?
sad, isn't it?
There's no pockets in shrouds.
Well,
Yes. Can't take it with you.
And people who live in luxury flats overlooking shanty towns,
Oh yeah.
you just think, how could you do that?
Well, that's
that would
Scrooge.
be, if
Yeah.
it might be one thing if you're in a mansion in the country and you can't see any poor people, but once you saw, how could you hide from, how could you possibly think? How could you, I don't know, you'd be swamped with guilt, wouldn't you? You couldn't, how could you ignore it? But people do, so.
When I was a little girl, being adopted, I used to dream that my family would find me and they'd be very rich.
Oh.
And they would give me enough money to buy loads and loads of land. And I wanted all this land. But as a little girl, I didn't want it so that I could benefit from it. I wanted it so I could plant loads and loads of trees because that would be good for the environment, and so that I could rewild a load of it. And I did want a small area so I could have 6 horses. Because, that I didn't want something for me. But that was my dream, to be rich so that I could change the world.
Yeah, when we were in Egypt, we said we're going to win the lottery and we're just going to ship a load of these donkeys and horses and camels back over to Britain, and we're just going to get land and let them live a natural life.
Unfortunately, there's enough donkeys and horses in
There
this
are,
country that are suffering.
everywhere, yeah, I know, oh gosh. I don't know, I think coming back to Britain from our amazing travelling life abroad, where we had lovely flats given to us and, you know, private health care and flights and all that, it was just a wonderful, wonderful way of living, and to come back to Britain and we sort of skidded to a halt really because we had to come back earlier than we thought because of my husband's health, and we sort of suddenly realised that we couldn't afford to buy a house. So we're in we bought a caravan in Shoreham Holiday Park, and it's just perfect. It is just, I was all girded to sort of like fill this big plummet, and actually just sort of went on this major high because, and we still do, but the other day when we were driving the weekend, and my husband went, we live here, you know, these gorgeous skies and this, and you honestly don't need anything more, and you just think, I'm glad we haven't actually, because I couldn't be asked cleaning it. It's,
I love caravans. Absolutely
it's
love caravans.
easier to live a simpler life than you think, you know, when
My son's just moved to the Isle of Arran, and we went over there, and it's the most amazing place because you can't get on and off without having to live with it, you know, because of the ferry. And everyone there's just so chilled. It's that other way of life, isn't it? It's the less stressful, less...
Definitely.
Less is more.
It's much more community.
Yeah, because that's the thing that we're missing. This is what the church is trying to do, isn't it? We're trying to create this community that has been missing. It's far more valuable.
I think a lot of groups and a lot of trust funds, aren't there? And that's about the money. So, if you look at the Joseph Rank Trust, which is Rankovis McDougall, Joseph Rank, Andrew Carnegie, and lots of if you are running any sort of social enterprise or doing anything, you know, serving the community, you know, funding is coming from these historic trust funds, which you know, that money is serving, isn't it, rather than being something. That's is a master.
Which areas of your life do you find most difficult to surrender to God?
I wouldn't say difficult, but it's hard and it's time.
Yes, I was just about to say, I needed some answers for that, but that's
Time.
Time, yeah.
Control for me.
Time. What was that? I'm sure it was in church. It might have been in a school assembly. I don't know, but that I can't remember the whole thought anyway. But that it was a hymn. I think we were singing that that you can't spare. I'm sorry because you can't spare me 1 hour or something. No, not ringing any bells.
Was it the one that we sang not last Sunday? And it talked about going out into the streets, and was it that one?
can't remember what
Could
it's
have
called.
been. I'll have to look it up. I'll have to find it. It might have been at school, but that was definitely something that made me. That's when I thought, right, I need to hunt down a church, and get back to going to church. And then I'm sure it was one of the hymns that we were singing. I'm sure it was in the words of one of the songs.
Time is your most precious commodity, isn't it?
There could be a link, couldn't there? I mean, talking about money, you know, maybe some people are in a position to work a few less hours to liberate some time, you know, for God. Sometimes there is a relationship between the two, isn't there? And conversely, I mean, there are some people who will just work and work and work and work to earn more and more and more money beyond what they need, and then they will have less time, particularly to have any to invest in their spiritual lives.
Yes, actually, that's, but in that way, in their family lives, their personal lives, and everything. So maybe that's, you know. So then they can never be as happy.
Things like family life will suffer if they.
So you're never going to be as happy if you're following money.
Money can't buy love.
Well, I think there was something a little while ago about footballers who earn mega thousands, but see, they're not. I mean, I don't know. I can't talk for every footballer, but they don't seem to be sensible with it. They don't save it. They live within their means, if you like.
But they're so young, aren't they?
Yeah, so their social life is far more expensive. The clothes they buy far more expensive. So that they're actually spending what they're earning instead of. I don't know. And of course, they need more money because they're spending outside their, you know, what they actually earn. So, and that can't make you happy because you're constantly hunting for.
Used to be a nightclub in Liverpool, the State, and me and Barry loved going to one called the Academy. You could go and all your scrub, floor was filthy, and you just have live music and dance. Anyway, one night it was closed, so we go to the State. Barry had to send his mate home to get him proper pants because he wasn't allowed to because he wasn't dressed well enough. And we paid X amount of money to get him. He had a good job at the time, so we had the money, it wasn't an issue. We walked in, and there's all these girls covered in gold, massive gold rings, loads of jewellery, loads of makeup, the most expensive designer clothes. And we walked in, and I was like, I'm not staying here. So we literally turned around and walked out. He said, we just paid to come out. I don't care, I'm not staying here. It's awful. Because it was all about show. Yeah. I've got this designer, I've got this name, I've got this jewellery.
How sad that you have to be like that, though,
Yeah.
isn't it?
I do think, I mean, I'm in a primary school and it's really worrying how many of their girls have their nails done and
In primary school,
and have handbags and you know and everything is a label and the shoes and and they talk about things just like it's just unbelievable. And I was doing comprehension with my small little group and we were talking about water and how we can't waste water and how some children have to walk kilometres every day for their water. And one of my little girls went to Bella, she said, well, why can't they drive? I said, well, because Bella, you know, they're in a different country and they don't have the money. Well, what about a scooter? What about an electric scooter?
Innocence of children.
She's not very innocent actually. She's just been done for. We have this times table thing on the iPads, and she's hacked into everybody else's and stolen all their points, their money. So she's only 8.
To be fair though, when I was little, and I'm sure we all got this, you've got to eat all your dinner because there's starving children in Biafra.
Yeah.
And how many times did you turn around and say, well, send it to them then? 'Cause I thought,
I can remember saying that to my mum. Write it in an envelope and send it to them then. Yeah. Oh.
Like your school is peer pressure,
yeah.
and even as adults you can sometimes.
Oh yeah, very much so, yeah.
It's very, very throwaway society now, isn't it?
So the next reading after the one we've just read is this. I mean, for some reason they gave me Luke, but I think in Matthew it goes on to this. So it's kind of like God saying, you know, consider how the wildflowers grow. They do not labour or spin. Yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all his splendour was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown onto the fire, how much more will he clothe you, you of little faith? The reading from Luke tells us that God will provide for all our needs. And I was doing the garden today and I was thinking to myself, which area of your life do you find that? And do you know what, for me, what it is? It's the aging process.
Yeah.
It's that gradual weakening of your faculties and where that ends up. That's what I thought this afternoon. I thought, you know what, that's what it is. For me, it's that. And that's kind of self-reliance in a way, isn't it, I guess?
Every time I go and visit Dad, I think my stair days are over. I'm so glad I'm in a caravan because my knees. Yeah. What's to come?
It's family with me. That they're going to be alright.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't bear the thought that
Yeah.
they might suffer. That the people I love. I'm a bit obsessed with horses, you might have noticed.
I can't say her name,
Syncletica.
Syncletica. You know, that in a way that's inspiring because she to live to 80 and for those 3 years to have been, well, she must have been in pain to have throat cancer and or was it mouth
cancer, yeah.
But it's like, you know, when people went to the stake for their, you know, were burned for martyrs for their faith, and they used to have a signal, didn't they, to say, you know, God's with me and it's bearable, you know, I can do it. You can't imagine. But in a way, she was doing that to generations afterwards, saying, God is with me and it's bearable. She's saying, you know, that's the message coming through us to us today.
That's amazing.
About aging, yeah. Because a lot of people died a lot younger, didn't they? But 80s.
Well, I was going to say, yes, you know, she was lucky to hit 80, wasn't she?
Yeah.
I think with me, the hardest to trust is what's happening to the world, the environment and the wars, that what if it got worse for the next generation? That's where I find it hardest.
Yeah, the destruction of the environment and
That it could all be destroyed.
That bothered me a lot more when I was younger, but now you see like programs there, like what was it called? The end of the world type things, you know, where everybody's living in an apocalyptic world and they've lost everything and they all fight and all that. But then I've seen programs where it shows you what would happen if humans were no longer on Earth. The plants and the animals would all come back.
it just regenerates.
It just all regenerates. So the horrors that might come and that we might have to endure, they will pass. Black Death, it passed.
Yeah.
You know, the Spanish flu, it passed. These things, they pass, and yes, people are lost, but then there's greater beauty to come out of it. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
But also, it does warn us, doesn't it, in the Bible, that these things are going to happen.
Yeah.
Jesus said, you know, which I find quite amazing, really, that 2,000 years ago, Jesus said, there's going to be wars, there's going to be famines, there's going to be all of these things.
Earthquakes and
And that they're like the birth pangs of what
It's very,
God is doing and bringing to
very Revelations at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. Because although there's so many people, as we all know, we've been talking about the people who grab for money, the people who grab for power, is even more prolific and scary. And it's those people who kind of need everything to go awful so that they go, oh, actually we have to do something about this.
But we have been promised that God will sort it out.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was promised.
that's it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we've got
Oh,
to.
ye of little faith.
Yes,
you've
we
got
have to.
Well, that's it, that's what we've got to
Yeah.
trust.
We have to trust, yes.
Yeah, that's the trust.
Yeah.
I think these days it's very difficult to trust anything, isn't it? I think that the trust in politicians is probably at its lowest.
Yeah.
The trust in the NHS and the
Yes,
way
I was
that's
thinking
run,
the same thing, yeah.
that's at its lowest.
Yeah.
Trust is trust in the banks.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? All the establishments that you could rely on to a
Yeah.
certain degree.
But that
Yeah.
all goes back to money, doesn't it? You know,
it does.
we can't trust the politicians because they've become so corrupt. And I mean, you know, I'm convinced that a lot of politicians start off wanting to change the world, and then you know it goes sour because of. And the NHS is, you know, it's been starved of money for so long. You know, real.
It used to be the pride, didn't it? And now people go to other countries for operations and for dental work and go to Spain, go to Turkey. I mean, these were third world countries when we were younger, and now they're the places you go when you want healthcare.
But only if you pour money into them.
Well, again, yeah. Everything's
Or
out
you
of control.
organise them
Yeah.
fairer, honesty.
It's quite a long piece, this, so I'll go through it slowly. Philosopher Dallas Willard points out that although following Jesus is immensely costly, there is an even greater cost to not following him. So non-discipleship costs abiding peace, a life penetrated throughout by love, Faith that sees everything in the light of God's overriding governance for good. Hopefulness that stands in the most discouraging circumstances. Power to do what is right and withstand the forces of evil. In short, it costs exactly that abundance of life that Jesus said he came to bring. So take some time to reflect on the list, and the list there: love, faith, hope, power and abundant life. How might learning more intentionally into spiritual disciplines this Lent help you to grow in love, faith, hope, power and abundant life?
Joining this group is the first time I've really stopped to think about Lent beyond my cousin always says she's going to give up chocolate. I've never really thought deeply about it. Apart from Palm Sunday, and there is a green hill far away. It's one of my favourites, but the traditional sort of.
Yeah.
But this is.
And also that the teaching we've had about silence and solitude and spending time with God, reading the Bible, reading the scriptures is very, very important.
Yeah.
To help you grow in all this.
Yeah.
And it's having the support of community, not only this group, the whole church.
It's been really, really nice swapping ideas and having people teach me.
All of those things there, none of them are tangible. You can't
Yes.
put away in a bank or store in your cupboard
Yeah.
or hand it to anyone. But no one can take it away from you.
No.
And I think in the past, Lent had the ending of Easter, but now I think it's not an ending, it's more a beginning, that it will go on. What I've learned these sessions.
Yes. By power, does that mean confidence?
It means, we'll go back, it's power to do what is right and withstand the forces of evil.
Right.
That's kind of more of a self-confidence thing, isn't it? Like Jesus walked into the temple and they were doing the money lending
Oh, yeah.
and he threw all the tables everywhere. Would you be brave enough to
To
walk
do
into
that?
a situation like that and just go,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's also standing up for what's right. So
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
it does take a bit of bravery really to do that.
Yeah.
I think that's something that I've learned a lot from coming to church, the amount of things that the church does to help other people.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
That interested me when he says that following Jesus is immensely costly.
Yeah.
there's an even greater cost to not following him.
Depends on what you think of as a cost, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And you're standing out, aren't you? You're always making yourself different.
Yeah,
If you,
yeah, very
and
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps not in this situation, but in society generally,
Yeah.
perhaps it's a cost.
There's still that bit of me, like today I'm going to somewhere tonight. Do I say I'm going to a Lent course at church tonight? I remember Dinah up at Margaret Hornby's, and she was so strong in her faith. And Sunday that I'm going to church. There's no two ways around it. I go to church and that's what I do. And yet there were people who thought she was weird, who took advantage of her kindness.
Yeah.
And watching Dinah getting hurt by horsey people, it's like, oh, she goes to church. You know, and there's that. And it can be hard when you're not strong to be able to say, yeah, I go to church. I believe in God. I know God. I don't believe in God. I know God.
I think it's like it's relationship. I can remember when I was first became a Christian. Initially, there was like a heap. I just couldn't shut up about it. But then gradually over time, I was like a bit like you. I don't know if I can hear it.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell you when I used to really struggle. You remember when we at Christ Church we used to go into the middle of Ormskirk and we'd be talking to people about Jesus. And we struggled. It was really hard, that, wasn't it? You know, and you were like stood there and you might see someone you know and you're like,
Yeah.
Oh, that's brave.
but gradually, I just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that this course has really helped me as well. You know, just thinking about, and even this, you know, where he talks about peace and love and hope, power, and abundant life, and I think once that your perspective changes to that relationship, that close relationship, then abundant life without Jesus seems quite. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what I find really weird then? I can quite happily and easily go up to absolutely any age, any person, anywhere, and talk about ashrams and yoga and meditation and oh yeah, and people are really fascinated by it. Oh yeah, that's really interesting. And did you know that Jesus? And you go, and that's awful. There's a difference, and yet we're a Christian country.
Yeah, I know.
And it's not just this country that's Christian, the predominant religion in all of the countries around us and all the ones that we relate to the most is Christianity. And Judaism and Muslim, they're all rooted in the same God. And yet, for some reason, we've got this society where it's okay to talk about things that aren't what we're talking about.
But do you think that's more because like society's changed so much in the last 50, 60 years away from the traditional, you go to church
To
on
some
Sunday,
extent.
to like now we are, society is sort of like master to money, isn't it? Because of all the advertising and taking away Sunday for you know, opening the supermarkets and whatnot.
you know, but there is no day of rest, is
No,
there,
there's
for
no-
the
there's no-
majority of
yeah.
people. They don't even think, it's just become, oh, this is another reason
It's a
I love my
fashion
job.
thing as well.
Yeah,
You know, like we were talking about the labels.
yeah, all of that. And obsessed with buying things and getting things.
Yeah.
So I'm so lucky, again, with my job, because I'm in a Speakers of Staff C of E, and it really is, you know, so every day you have worship and everything's everywhere, and everybody, you
There's a
can,
big
you can talk
difference.
about
There's
it.
actually
Yeah,
a really,
totally.
really big
It's
difference
marvellous.
between.
It'd be like if
I,
we were
I
all
taught in a
teachers.
Church of
Yeah.
England school, and I did a lot of teaching practice in non-church schools,
Mhm.
and the difference
Mhm.
is palpable.
Although actually, I mean, I'm veering off here, but we've had students in recently, student teachers, and one of them, because we say morning prayer, we say lunchtime prayer, and we say home time prayer, and one of the little children, who's in the reception, one of the little children said, "Miss, why are you praying? And why aren't you saying your prayers?" And she said, "Because I don't believe in God." And the class teacher said, "Well, you know, we're very tolerant here, but we do ask everybody to just respectfully lower their head." I just turned around and went, "No."
So God believes in you.
They had a little headmistress had to have a word with her afterwards, and what have you. And she's not been back. She's not been in this week at all. So we don't know whether she's left or whether. And it's, to me, that's so intolerant, because she wasn't asked to join in and pray, but
Just respect other people's
exactly.
right
I mean,
to.
you
Yeah.
would. You know what I mean? You wouldn't.
Yeah.
I was gobsmacked. Absolutely gobsmacked.
her parents.
Possibly, but I mean, to be in your early 20s and that bluntly rude, I don't think there's any excuse of how you were brought up. You know, you're at college, you have to.
That's
I
a
don't
teaching
know,
point back
yeah.
at college, I think.
Well,
as well.
exactly, you know. Or say, I want to go to a community school or something, you know. Just,
And think about how much pain she must be in.
she must be in a lot of pain, especially not to have come back.
Yeah. Because that's a fear thing, isn't it? I'm not doing that, and I'm a stubborner.
She must be unhappy to a certain degree, I would have thought. I don't know. I mean,
Well, you can't help her until she's ready to help herself, so.
no.
She has to find
she'll
her
maybe
own way,
look back
and
on
God's
that
with
one
her.
day.
Jesus loves her.
Yeah, that's what it.
Yeah.
God's still with her.
Yeah.
Even though she's refusing
Absolutely.
to accept this. This is what I remember from being a teenager, because I would never have been that rude.
She's not a teenager.
But when I was
Yeah.
a young woman, I've never been that rude, but there was a part of me that. And now I look back and wow, God was there. God
Same
was
here.
so there.
I was the same.
Yeah.
Has anybody read The Heavenly Man? Anybody read The Heavenly Man? It's a brilliant book, and it's about Brother. I think his name. I read it a long time ago. It's called Brother. It's about a guy called Brother Young, and he was in China, and he was a Christian, and he got arrested and thrown into prison, tortured, and he was in there for years. And it's a true story. And eventually he got out, and they got him out, and he went to America. And he made his life there. And he said in his book, he said that he found the torture and the imprisonment, the solitary confinement and the meetings and all the rest of it easier to deal with than materialism.
Yeah.
He said that materialism was really hard to deal with. I was going to speak about it on Sunday until I got sidetracked. And there's a couple of things that I picked out, and it was just. Let me just read a little bit of it. there was a quote from one of the desert. Another one, Mary. I don't know how you pronounce it. I did practice it. Hypericius. There you go.
Yeah.
And he said this. He said, "To accept poverty freely is a monk's treasure. Therefore, my brother, lay up treasure in heaven, where there will be endless time for rest." And I thought that was fantastic, that, because you forget, don't you, that all that time for rest.
Yeah, because life.
It's so, suddenly realise how short it is when you get to my age anyway.
And then the next bit was, one of the most dangerous aspects of materialism is how subtly its power takes hold of our hearts. What feels like harmless stuff actually has the ability to dethrone God in our hearts.
Yeah.
Jesus closed the reading that we just read, I put this morning, with the clearest of warnings. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. Oh, this was good. Imagine standing in the sea and feeling the powers of the waves pushing against you. This is talking about materialism. Pushing against you as you try and stand still. The stronger the waves, the harder you have to resist. If you don't, you'll end up where you don't want to be. The waves of materialism and its false promises are increasingly powerful in our culture. Therefore, our resistance has to be equally strong.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one to think about, isn't it?
Funnily enough, I made it the other way round about God.
Go on, Mary.
But instead of resisting God, if God was the waves, to just allow the waves to take
Wash
it.
over.
Yeah.
That's a good way of thinking. Sorry, Mary.
No, it's just one of the we used to have these reflections on a Thursday at one of the places where we worked once, and people took it in turns to lead it, and one of the most powerful ones was about the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. But the way they did it was that they said that there, as well as the gifts of the Spirit, there were counterfeit ones that can appear like joy, peace, patience, but actually are counterfeit. They're not real joy. They're not real peace. They're not. And I was just thinking about materialism and things. But on my phone, you get these algorithms and everything. It seems to me that one of the things in society at the moment is minimalism and everything. And I wonder whether that's a bit of a counterfeit thing. That there's materialism, but I don't think that the opposite to that, and a godly way, is necessarily minimalism. I think that might be something that's counterfeit to the way of the desert fathers and mothers, where they were renouncing wealth. I don't think it's what society has manufactured, if you like, as an alternative and better way. I don't think we should go down that route.
So we're back
It's
to what you were
contrived, isn't
saying.
it? It's contrived.
It's sort of like, well, it seems, well, I don't know. It just seems, often to have those very sleek lines in your house and muted colours throughout.
Tell me about it.
It's not. It might appear for a start off, I don't think this is the only reason why it might be quite part of it, but I don't think it's a necessarily a very. You probably have to spend quite a lot of money to get that sort of thing anyway.
Yes.
And it might look when you go into into somebody's surroundings which has been made like that, it may seem, they haven't got lots of trinkets around, and but actually it's the appearance. It's not. If you dig a bit deeper, it's not very solid, is it?
No,
I can't explain what I mean.
No, I know what you mean.
Really.
Yeah.
If you look at a family home,
Yes.
the most precious trinkets are those pictures on the fridge that your kids did. That little ornament that my son made out of whatever it was that still sits on my cupboard, that is, and I don't even know what it is.
Granddad's or
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
something sort of local.
Well, we've
Yeah.
come to the end of our time. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thanks, Mary. Can we say our Lenten prayer together? And I thought, you know what would be a really good song for us to close on? The Lord's My Shepherd.
I love that.
It's the not the traditional version. It's the other one, but I think it kind of speaks of.
I got a cracking version on my phone not long ago. It came up on YouTube, and it was so good.
It might be this one.
It might be.
No, we'll see. We'll see. So shall we pray? You God, oh my God, earnestly I seek you. I thirst for you. My whole being longs for you in a dry and parched land where there is no water.
Shepherd, I'll not want. He makes me lie in pastures green. He leads me by the still, still waters. His goodness restores my soul, and I will trust in you alone, and I will trust in you alone, for your endless mercy follows me, your goodness will lead me home. He guides my ways in righteousness, and He anoints my head with oil, and my cup it overflows with joy. I feast on His pure delights, and I will trust in you, and I will trust in you alone, for your endless mercy follows me, your goodness will lead me home. And though I walk the darkest path, I will not fear the evil one, for you are with me, and your rod and staff are the comfort I need to know, and I will trust in you, and I will trust in you alone, for your endless mercy follows me, your and I will trust in you, and I will trust in you alone, for your endless mercy follows me, your goodness will lead me home, for your endless mercy, for your endless mercy follows me, your goodness will lead me home.
That's left me tearful with the scenery just
Beautiful, isn't it? Amazing.
My friend lives near a river just like that. It's a beautiful place.
Well, thanks for sharing and for coming tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, John, very much. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Really interesting. Really.